All right, we're diving deep today, folks. Ready to explore something kind of fascinating.
Let's do it.
We're talking about the CPK lab test. You ever wonder how one little blood test can tell us so much about what's happening inside?
Absolutely.
Well, CPK is a perfect example. CPK stands for creatine phosphokinase. It's an enzyme, and it's actually super crucial for, well, muscle energy.
It is. And when we say muscle, we mean all muscle.
Exactly,
Yeah.
including the heart, because the heart is a muscle, believe it or
Right.
not.
That's right.
So what makes this deep dive so interesting is that the CPK test can offer insights into the health of your heart, your muscles, and get this, even your brain.
Yeah. Pretty impressive for one test.
It is, and that's what we're going to unpack. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what this test is, what those numbers actually mean, and what can cause them to go up or down.
All right. So to really grasp this, it's helpful to understand what CPK does in the body. Think of it like a spark plug in a car engine.
Okay, I like where this is going.
It helps convert fuel, which
Mhm.
in this case is a molecule called creatine. Gotcha. And it converts that into energy. And that energy is something our cells need to function. We call it ATP. But without CPK, our muscles just wouldn't be able to do their thing.
So it's like the key that unlocks the energy in our muscles.
Exactly, a catalyst for energy production.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got this enzyme, CPK, crucial for muscle energy. But how does that translate into a blood test that can actually reveal potential health problems?
Right, well, here's the thing. When muscle cells get damaged, for any reason, they release CPK into the bloodstream.
Interesting.
So the CPK test simply measures the amount of this enzyme in your blood. And if that level is higher than normal, well, it could be a sign that something's going on. That could be anything from a heart attack to just a simple muscle injury.
Okay, now it's starting to click why this test is a pretty big deal.
Mm.
But I'm guessing there's a normal range, right? Like every time I stub my toe or work out a little too hard, my CPK levels aren't going to go haywire.
You're absolutely right. Not every little muscle twitch is going to send those levels soaring. So generally for men, a normal range is typically between 52 and 336 units per liter.
Okay.
And for women, it's a bit lower, usually falling between 38 and 176 units per liter.
Good to have those numbers.
Yeah, and just to clarify, when we say units per liter, we're talking about the concentration of CPK in a specific volume of blood.
That makes sense. All right, so now that we've got that baseline established, let's talk about what can actually cause those numbers to fluctuate. And I'm not just talking about the big scary stuff. What about those everyday things that might cause our CPK levels to, jump around a bit?
Definitely. It's important to remember that anything that puts stress on your muscles can cause a temporary increase in CPK.
Right?
Intense exercise is probably the most common culprit.
Yeah, I would think so.
So even if you just had a really tough workout, you might notice a little bump in your CPK levels, but it doesn't have to be anything extreme. Even those minor things, like a small muscle strain or even a bruise, could cause a slight increase.
That actually makes me feel a lot better because I remember when I was training for a half marathon a while back, my doctor called me, a little worried about my CPK levels. And, well, it turned out it was totally nothing serious. My muscles were just working extra hard getting ready for that race. But yeah, good to know that even those small things can cause those levels to spike a bit.
Exactly. Context is really key here. Now, on the flip side, we do have to discuss those more serious conditions that are linked to elevated CPK.
Right. Those are the ones that tend to make people nervous.
For sure, a heart attack, for instance, that can cause a very significant, very rapid spike in CPK levels. And that's because of the damage that's being done to the heart muscle.
That makes sense.
And it's not just that. Certain medications can also affect CPK levels. Statins, for example, those are pretty commonly prescribed to help lower cholesterol, and those can definitely impact CPK levels as well.
So it sounds like this test is kind of like a double-edged sword. It can give us some really valuable information, but it doesn't always give us a clear-cut diagnosis on its own.
That's a great way to put it. The CPK test is really just one piece of the puzzle. It's a clue, not the whole story.
So if I see an elevated CPK level on my results, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm having a heart attack.
Exactly. There could be a bunch of other things going on. If those elevated levels are persistent, then we might start thinking about muscle diseases like muscular dystrophy. That's where the muscle fibers actually break down over time.
Wow, so we're talking about a range of possibilities here. It's amazing how much information one blood test can give us.
It really is. And it's not just limited to muscles. This test can even provide clues about, believe it or not, the nervous system.
Really? How is that possible?
So there are actually different types of CPK. They're called isoenzymes.
Phytoenzymes, okay.
And some of these isoenzymes are more concentrated in the brain and the spinal cord. So if we see those specific isoenzymes elevated, well, then it could point towards a neurological issue.
So this seemingly simple blood test is even more complex than I realized. It can give us insights into our muscles, our heart, and our nervous system.
Exactly. And it all highlights how crucial it is to have really good open communication with your doctor.
Oh.
Make sure you're discussing any really strenuous activity you've done, any recent injuries, or any medications you might be taking before you go and get a CPK test.
That makes sense.
That way, your doctor can accurately interpret the results and, hopefully put your mind at ease.
Absolutely. It's all about the context. That's a perfect note to end on, actually. CPK tests can be incredibly valuable tools, but they need to be considered alongside your individual health history, your lifestyle, and any other relevant tests or symptoms you might be experiencing. So if you happen to see that your CPK levels are a bit high, don't panic. Talk to your doctor, get the full picture, and go from there.
And as you go about your day, maybe take a moment to think about those everyday activities and your lifestyle choices. How could they be subtly impacting those CPK levels? It's pretty fascinating to consider.
It is. It's amazing how those little things can make a difference. As always, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our health. And hopefully this deep dive has given you the information you need to feel empowered, to have those informed conversations with your doctor, and to really take control of your health. Until next time, stay curious.
You've been listening to the Learning Podcast, a production of metaNESTA. Remember, learning is a journey, one step, one insight, one skill at a time. We'll see you next time. Keep learning, stay curious, and as always, be awesome.